What makes kids join gangs and in some cases end up in prison and or dead? Let's talk about it in this video. I recently attended a talk by a former gang member, Peter Vasquez. I'm going to show you his website and talk about his work that he's doing. He's been doing this for many years. He was from California. He ended up in prison. Now he runs a nonprofit called Second Chance Grace. You can find it at secondchancegrace.org, and second is 2ND. I'll also put the link in the description down below, but it's fascinating because the reason I'm concerned about this and looking at these issues is because, as you know, we're all connected. While the federal government may say that no one is safe until everyone's safe, if they're pushing some, if they're pushing that thing like they pushed, the reality is, because we're all connected, these kids join gangs, they're not in their right mind, they're disconnected from God, they're experiencing fear and anxiety, as we'll talk about. That is the real no one's safe until everyone's safe. I mean, let's be real. So let's talk about it in this video. Again, I'll put the links in the description down below, but this was a talk at the Old State Saloon. You may recall that I did a video on Heterosexual Awareness Month, and I'll link that video down below as well, where I talked about my experience there. If you don't have time to watch the whole video, I felt nothing but love, and I feel nothing but love coming out of Mark Fitzpatrick and the work that he's doing in his business there. This is a prime example. He hosted this gentleman, Peter Vasquez, at his saloon. This was a few weeks ago, talking about gang activity. And it's wild. It's wild. And I don't know if you're following what's going on down in northern Mexico, Tijuana and Juarez area, but it is not good. There's a lot of sketchy things going on in our world. There's a lot of good too, right? People are waking up to the problems, and because of the challenges we're facing in America, and because of the lies and deception that are being exposed, people are waking up, but there's still a lot of people hurting in our world. And as this water level rises of currency issues, right, inflating the prices of goods and services because the currency is being devalued, right, many people are being gobbled up by the system, and we really have to look at that and do what we can to educate, to not only other people, but ourselves, be part of the solution. Stop buying into the lies and deception that are coming out of the federal GOV. They are super bad news, no bueno for anyone. I believe a lot of these systemic problems in our country originated by social programs pushed by the federal government. That's why when anyone gives me an opportunity, I will list the things, the problems that they have, quote unquote, solved that have made matters worse. You look at inner city housing projects, the worst type of living environment you can possibly imagine, super uninspiring, super unnurturing for the human spirit, yet they did that. They did that. That's what your federal government does. This is why I'm not a big fan of them, quite honest. And this is why when they came in 2020 and 2021 and say, hey, we've got that solution for you, I was like, oh, you guys? Yeah, stay away from me, bro. I'm good. All right, let's not get sidetracked, because I can go all day about that. But my point is, they're not good problem solvers. And in fact, once you peel back the layers, use your own judgment of whether they're even in the problem-solving game at all. That's a topic for another video, but let's get into this. So I've got 5 takeaways from this talk that I attended at the Old State Saloon, Peter Vasquez. Let's start by showing you who this gentleman is. This is him right here, standing in front of his trailer. He has this trailer with a mock-up of a jail cell on it, or in it, and he puts kids in there that are, potentially on the wrong path, or even if they're good kids, and he says, hey, this is what's waiting for you if you keep going down this road. I think it's brilliant, right? It's a tiny little cell, it's on a cargo trailer. It's a tiny little cell. He says, hey, this is what it's like in prison, and this is the cell that I had in prison, and it's also the cell where he found God and Jesus Christ and turned his whole life around. Now he helps keep kids out of the system. See, that's what it is. It's the system that gobbles them up. It's the system that gobbles them up. And who runs the system, right? Who promotes the system? Well, use your own judgment. I know who it is, and that's why I stay as far away from them as I can. So let's get into these. The 5 takeaways that I got from listening to his talk. Number 1, again, why kids get into gang activity and what we can do to be part of the solution, above and beyond raising awareness and educating ourselves. Because why do we want to know this? Because if one person is unhappy or unfulfilled or disconnected from God, there is a probability that they will spread that unhappiness, spread that anger, spread that fear by doing violence in the world, right? When we heal individually, we heal the whole world. But also when we help other people heal or pull them out of the beast system, right? And so they don't get devoured by that system or corrupted by that system or indoctrinated by that system, we also help heal the world. It's a team effort in this game. So the number 1 takeaway, the first takeaway is that he said is that it starts in the home. He came from what he called the dysfunctional home, right? His mother and father were having challenges of their own. And this is what we find as the family has been eroded by multiple factors, right? By multiple factors in society, many of which are promoted and pushed by the federal government. That's why I say they're no bueno for humanity. Get as far away from these clowns as you can get. Starts in the home with dysfunction. I believe he said that his father wasn't around much. His mother remarried, and the new guy that she was with was not a great guy. Didn't treat the family great and didn't treat him great. So he grew up with fear, right, and anxiety. And he said that is kind of where it starts. Is you're afraid, right? Then you go to school, and because you're afraid and because you're jealous and envious of kids who have a better life than you start lashing out at those kids. Again, kids don't have a lot of the higher level faculty and reasoning skills that adults have. They're still in that state of their brain still developing. They don't have that ability to go, why am I feeling this way? And is this a rational thought? They don't have the tools to assess and say, is this really true? Am I really unworthy? Am I really this way? They don't have those skill set. To be quite honest, many adults don't have that skill set either. So some kids have it over adults, but coming up in a broken home, a dysfunctional home, he internalized a lot of fear and anxiety. And then that in turn made him do bad things to other people and get in trouble to other people. And he said he was, sticking kids up in the restroom for their lunch money. I think he said he had a butter knife or something. I mean, I don't know. He's like in the 5th grade and he's already on that road. That's what I'm saying. These kids get disconnected from God and disconnected from, society because of what's happening to them, breakdown in the family. That's why he said it starts with the family. And then they do all sorts of bad things to other people. So, we've all got to do our part. And I didn't used to think this way, but I do now. So first of it starts in the home. Number 2, fear. We know fear is at the heart of a lot of things. I always talk about fear being the mind killer. Fear will make you do things you wouldn't normally do in your right mind. And that's why I recommend people turn off the television and the media and politicians. They are fear mongers at best. And the reason they use fear is because it works. It shuts down the prefrontal cortex of our brain. We can't think properly. We can't think in a rational, logical way about things. I believe had the media not pushed fear mongering into the world in 2020, no one would have taken that solution that they promoted. People weren't in their right minds, right? Fear is the mind killer. Stay as far away from anyone who is using fear as a tactic or a tool. They're using it to manipulate you. Fear and rushing are the 2 biggest manipulative factors. That's why I never watch the news. I will block my ears out to it. It is super bad for the vibe, for your vibe, and for your consciousness. Super, super bad. Number 3 takeaway is addiction. He said that addiction is really at the heart, or one of the main driving factors that gets these kids on a wrong path. And again, it starts at an early age. It could be that because of fear and anxiety, these kids are turning to drugs to numb that pain out. That's kind of what he alluded to, and that's what I've heard from other people that talk about this. Addiction, the flesh body has ways and means to manage itself, and if you can't get those things managed by a proper diet, meditation, walking in nature, social connections, family connections, all of the things that a healthy human being needs to maintain themselves on a daily basis. If you don't get some of those things met, you're going to develop fear. You're going to develop anxiety and that disconnectedness from God and the source within you. And that's where addiction comes in. Oh, I'll do some drugs or some alcohol and that'll numb the pain. And then that for a person who is prone to addiction, doesn't have some of those other resources available, that's going to be a slippery slope right into the pits of hell, quite frankly. Starts with more gateway drugs and moves into hardcore drugs, damage your body and your mind, right? That's the third takeaway that I get. And we know addiction is, a common problem in the human experience. So there's that. The fourth takeaway is what I alluded to earlier, a disconnection from God. That's where a lot of these ex-gang members or criminals come back to reality when they get connected back to God again. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes many years, and sometimes they're in prison or having bad experiences before that happens. I think that's common for human beings. Sometimes we don't change until we experience enough pain, or we just grow out of it and get, older and wiser. That's been my experience as I move through my life. Sometimes you don't change. And I used to drink quite a bit of alcohol and party and do those kind of things. I don't do that much, if any at all, because once you start to realize the detrimental effects of alcohol on the body and the brain, you're like, oh, I want to maintain this vehicle that God gave me for as long as possible. And I want to use it to be a good person in the world and a good steward of God's resources. So I'm not going to do those things that I used to do. You don't want to damage your hardware, because you need the hardware to go through life. Right? So that's my fourth takeaway, is many of these people, if not all of these kids, are disconnected from God at an early age. And why wouldn't they be? Right? This is what I always try to get people to think about. And I do this to myself as well. Yes, God is a resource available to us, but the challenge is to get people to wrap their mind around is we live in this physical world, and we live in this fallen world where the devil and his agents have dominion over this world. We ultimately have dominion. Let's be real. We have dominion, but they're there to entice us and distract us and discourage us and cause doubt. And their agents are also working against humanity, right? They're the devil and his agents. And you can guess who his agents are. I know very clearly who his agents are. And this is why I stay far away from them when they come to me with solutions. Everyone has to decide for themselves who the devil's agents are. I know very well who they are. And, but in this world, those people are actively working against. They're creating policies, and they're affecting the system in a way that hurts people. Use your imagination. It is far and wide in this world. We're talking drugs, pornography. Sometimes they'll use people as, like we're seeing that are being flooded with the borders. They're using people as kind of human. They're throwing all the ants in a jar and shaking the jar. And then the ants start becoming agitated. And not only that, but they have agitators within that jar to start agitations, right? They promote the agitation. We've seen this in some events that we probably don't want to talk about in this video, because we'll get flags in our country. But bottom line is, if there's one thing that I want people to take away, is there are people actively working against humanity in our world. It isn't rainbows and unicorns all day. There are people actively working to undermine humanity in our world for their own profit and gain. And this is what I don't think enough people realize in the world, right? Until it touches them in a painful way, they don't look at it, right? I didn't look at it. But as the world, as this wave of chaos closes in on many people in the West, people are waking up. I'm one of them. And I'm now saying, hey guys, keep your eyes on that group of people over there. Because the same group of people that are, let's say dropping bombs on innocent moms and dads and children over in Gaza are also undermining the West using silent weapons for quiet wars. Broken families is a silent weapon for a quiet war. Food is a silent weapon. Processed food, fast food, preservative food is a silent weapon for a quiet war to destroy the bodies. The education system in many ways could be argued as a silent weapon for a quiet war. Let's take a 5-year-old kid full of curiosity and wonder and inquisitiveness, and let's put that kid in a desk in a building, sit them for 6 to 8 hours a day. That is a fucking travesty. It's a huge travesty. And let's teach them all the same thing. Let's not look at the individual child and say, I wonder what this child came here to do. I wonder what their ikigai is, their reason for being. I wonder what they're all about. The Montessori school does that kind of stuff. Public education, not so much. They don't give a shit about you, because if you look at the origins of the public education system, again, connected to why these kids are lost, dazed, and confused, the origin of the public education system was to create cogs in a wheel, cogs in a machine. It was not to create an enlightened, well-rounded child who knows themselves and the world they live in. That's not the game plan for an education system. It's to create groupthink. So these kids do what they're told when they're told by the system. Again, I digress. Where was I? Let's go with 5. This is the 5th takeaway and final takeaway of this talk that I listened to from Peter Vasquez at secondchancegrace.org. Second is with a 2. The 5th takeaway that he gives, and this is again related to all of us, is this idea of, he talks about this fact that gangs used to be somewhat organized, hierarchical. There was maybe more of a code of conduct where there wasn't, where you kind of fall in line with the structure of the gang. And I've heard this before from other gang people. Like, you're not going to go rogue and do some, stupid shit because you might run the risk of endangering your gang or alienating the leaders of your gang or going off grids, off paths, so to speak. He said that's how it used to be. He said nowadays it's pretty much anything goes. Anything goes, and it's super violent, and it's like the Wild West is what I gather from him saying that. And he said that a lot of these kids are just going off on their own and the structure, the culture is not what it used to be, right? There's not a lot of respect, not a lot of following the leadership kind of a thing. And from what I'm seeing that's going on down in northern Mexico, that's what's happening down there too. It's basically, those gangs, the cartel gangs, their only language is violence. That's the only language they know. And again, that multiple generations in, and that culture is only violence. And that appears to be what is happening with the gangs that are, in the United States. Thanks for listening to this video. I appreciate you. I'm super, passionate about this topic again, because we're all connected. We're all connected. If one person or group of people is experiencing pain or unpleasantness in life, then we're all going to experience that to some degree. Again, we're all connected. If one group of people is being bombed in one part of the world, it's going to affect the collective consciousness of people in another part of the world. And what they're doing to them, they've been doing to us for decades. Again, using silent weapons for quiet wars through the movies, through the music, through the media, through politicians, through the education system, through the foods, through the entertainment industry, through video games. When you promote violence and you got kids playing video games, shooting up other people, what do you think that's going to do to the consciousness of kids? I'm so glad I never got into that. It is fun to play those games, and watch those movies, but I don't watch those movies anymore. I don't want to see that in my mind because I'm on a journey of healing myself so that I can be a benefit to the world, right? I can't be a benefit to the world when I'm consuming the bullshit that the system wants me to consume. The food, the drink, the movies, the music. I don't listen to that stuff as much or at all as I move forward, and I wake up to what's really going on in the world. So there's my piece about gang culture in the United States and Peter Vasquez talk. If you're not following Old State Saloon in Eagle, Idaho, they have Instagram, they have a YouTube channel. They're starting to put some talks together and do what they call Saloon Cast, where they're broadcasting these messages. Again, he's doing God's work on earth. Mark Fitzpatrick. Kudos and I commend him, because in this day and age, it's not that popular. But the reality is the wave of people, there's more people coming to that side than there are going to the dark side. There's more people coming to the light side than there are going to the dark side, because people are realizing, oh yeah, dudes, you've been hosing me over for decades. And also people are realizing, oh, you're burning out our currency. You're not teaching my kid what he or she needs to live a life that's thriving. You're using my tax dollars to do all sorts of heinous things all over the world. Yeah, I'm not with you anymore. People are moving away from those people that are running that system, the beast system. All right. Thanks so much. Have an awesome day. I appreciate you very much. I'd love to have you as a subscriber, not only here, but also on YouTube and all my social media. And also be sure to check out One Life. One Life is the system that I created to help you become the person and do the things that God created you to be and do in the world, and be a force for good, right? Build a kingdom build a heaven-like kingdom on earth, a business empire, if that's what you're into, a social empire. It's about designing your life in all 8 areas: yourself, your health, your wealth, your relationships, your physical environment, your travel and leisure, your business. I feel like I might be forgetting one, but it's 8 areas of life. You can learn more at thisismyonelife.com. Go check it out. I appreciate you. Have an awesome day. We'll talk to you in the next one. And until next time, all the best, health, wealth, and success. Bye-bye.